Okay. And I'll give it one more minute. And so we have students, the question was asked how many international students we have. I don't know that number, but I know in my class we have students representing the continent and the diaspora from, we have a student from Zimbabwe. I think we have a student whose family is originally from Nigeria. We have students whose families originate from the Caribbean. It's just a good representation of the global presence of people of African descent.
Do you actually recruit them, or how do they come
The
to you?
school, that's a
Full
good
recruit.
question, but there's active recruitment. And then, there are, there's this legacy, people
Oh,
over
yes.
time who
Right.
have attended Morehouse College from other countries from Africa. They, alums, actively recruit and
Sure.
support students. Good
Mhm.
morning, Mr. Shorts. How are you? Thank you for turning your camera on. And gentlemen, it's going to be a lot of cameras on, a lot of folk, but it's just fine. Please do let us see you, engage with you. Please be camera ready. This is a little earlier for my class. Usually we don't log into 9:25.
Oh, yeah. Look, some of them
Yeah,
are just waking up. Look,
right.
Clayton, is
As you
that Clayton?
as as you can tell. Okay.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
morning.
This is wonderful to see these young faces.
Coffee back in.
So
Yes.
good morning to all of you. We're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. Um, and Dr. Samanga is letting more folk in. So we'll have a good number in just a few minutes. So good morning. Okay. And welcome to session 2 of Africa Awareness Week. Okay. And this session is titled Afri-Activism. That Afri prefix is what the organizers of Africa Awareness Week. It's an annual convening, and Afri is the prefix that is before every session and the name of every session. And so today is Afri-Activism. On Thursday, I'll be hosting a session, Afri Roadmaps, and it'll be on Burkina Faso. This session is Afri-Activism, a discussion of the memoir of Thandi Luthuli Gcabashe. Okay. And I would think most of you may not have ever heard that name before, but before you leave the Zoom room, before you leave this session, you'll know a lot about Thandi Luthuli Gcabashe. Okay. I'm Dr. Clarissa Myrick Harris White, professor of Africana Studies and co-editor-in-chief of the Black Scholar Journal. I'm co-hosting the session with my Morehouse colleague and co-editor-in-chief, Dr. Michael Samanga. Please mute yourselves. Please mute everyone.
Judy, mute, please.
Mute, please.
Judy? Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And welcome to my students from the African American Experience, Section 11. Welcome to Dr. Samanga's students, and this is his Zoom room for a history of the Civil Rights Movement. And the purpose of this session is to raise your awareness about a woman who has been a diligent, dedicated activist fighting for human rights of people of South Africa, but also, by extension, oppressed people around the world. Thandi Luthuli Gcabashe. I met her many, many years ago. I won't tell you how many years ago, when I was a graduate student at Emory University, and she was living here with her family in Atlanta. And at that point, she was working for the American Friends Association. And you're going to correct me, Elizabeth, if I'm saying the name incorrectly. Um, but let me introduce you to our 3 panelists. And after I introduce you to them, I'm going to do a quick overview of the history of the people of South Africa before it became South Africa. So first, our three panelists this morning. The first two panelists are the actual co-editors who worked with Thandi Gcabashe as she wrote her memoir. And the first is Elizabeth Enloe, who lives in New York City. She is a retired regional director for American Friends Service Committee, and she is a former overseas representative of the National Council of Churches. The second panelist, again, a co-editor who worked with Thandi Gcabashe on her memoir as she wrote her memoir. That is Gloria Gaines, Commissioner Gloria Gaines.
Yes,
She
go on.
is the Board of Commissioners of the Daughtry County, Georgia Board of Commissions. And she's also a retired executive at MARTA here in Atlanta. She's also the retired editor of the Albany Southwest Georgian newspaper. And former co-chair of the Georgia Coalition for Divestment in South Africa. So she worked with the anti-apartheid movement along with Elizabeth Enloe for a long time. The third panelist is one of the daughters of Thandi Luthuli Gcabashe, and she is Nomkla Kanka. She is with us. Actually, now Gloria Gaines is in Albany, Georgia. You have Elizabeth Enloe, who's in New York City, Gloria Gaines, who is in Albany, Georgia, and our third panelist, Nomkla Kanka, who is the director, of the Chief Albert Luthuli Foundation, okay, and the daughter of Thandi Luthuli Gcabashe. Elizabeth Enloe will talk a bit about who Albert Luthuli was, okay? But he's a name that you also need to know. The father of Thandi Luthuli Gcabashe, and a significant person in terms of South African human rights in the fight against apartheid, but an important figure globally, okay? And she's joining us from Johannesburg, South Africa. Okay, so welcome to our panelists this morning. And as I said, I'm going to briefly give you an overview about the First Nations in what is now referred to as South Africa. I'll be quick. So to understand this part of the world, and really it's considered, this part of the world is considered the cradle of humankind. You have to go back all the way back like 100,000 years, long before the Dutch East India Company arrived in 1652, long before the British, of course. This is a story of really the beginnings were with three groups of people. The first, the oldest, among the oldest people on the planet, a group of people called the San, S-A-N, okay? These individuals lived in what is now called South Africa, but they were in Southern Africa hundreds of thousands of years ago. They were hunter-gatherers. Then you had the Khoikhoi people, and they were pastoral folk, which means that they herded cattle and sheep, okay, longhorn cattle and sheep. They moved large herds across the land. And then later you had the Bantu